The truth about self-care: you are not healing. You are hiding. And the worst part is, the world has taught you to call it self-care. You avoid the hard conversation and call it peace. You waste another night scrolling and call it rest. You ignore your body, your purpose, your discipline, your future, and then tell yourself you are just protecting your energy. But deep down, you know the truth. You are not protecting your energy. You are protecting your excuses. Because real self-care does not always feel soft. Sometimes real self-care looks like waking up when you said you would. Sometimes it looks like deleting the thing that keeps destroying your focus. Sometimes it looks like walking away from people who only love the weak version of you. Sometimes it looks like sitting alone with your thoughts instead of running from yourself through noise, food, entertainment, or distraction. Most people do not want real self-care. They want escape. They want relief without responsibility, peace without discipline, confidence without sacrifice, a better life while keeping the same habits that ruined the old one. But life does not work that way. You cannot keep feeding the same weakness and expect strength to appear. You cannot keep choosing comfort and expect your future to respect you. You cannot keep betraying yourself in private and expect to feel powerful in public. There comes a point where you have to stop lying to yourself. There comes a point where you have to admit that the thing you keep calling self-care is the very thing keeping you small. Comfort is clever. It does not always look dangerous. Sometimes it looks harmless. One more episode. One more hour in bed. One more day without training. One more night eating what you know makes you feel heavy. One more excuse. One more delay. One more promise that tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow does not change a person who keeps worshipping today's comfort. This is how many people lose their lives. Not all at once. Not in one dramatic failure. But slowly, quietly, repeatedly. A small surrender every day. A small weakness every night. A small betrayal every time they choose what feels easy over what is actually good for them. Then years pass, and they look in the mirror and wonder why they feel lost. They wonder why they are tired, why they feel behind, why their confidence is gone. But confidence does not disappear mysteriously. Confidence leaves when you stop trusting yourself. Every time you say, "I will start tomorrow," and you do not, you break trust with yourself. Every time you promise, "This is the last time," and it is not, you break trust with yourself. Every time you know what you need to do, but choose the easier thing, you teach your mind that your word means nothing. And then you wonder why you do not feel strong. How can you feel strong when you keep proving to yourself that comfort controls you? How can you feel peaceful when your future is screaming for your attention? How can you call it self-care when the version of you 5 years from now will suffer because of the choices you are making today? That is the truth nobody wants to hear. Self-care is not always what makes you feel better right now. Sometimes self-care is what prevents your future self from hating you later. It is not self-care to avoid your responsibilities until they become emergencies. It is not self-care to ignore your health until your body forces you to listen. It is not self-care to stay around people who drain your spirit just because being alone scares you. It is not self-care to numb yourself every night and call it relaxation. Real self-care is self-respect in action. It is the moment you stop negotiating with your weakness. It is the moment you stop rewarding yourself for doing nothing. It is the moment you stop treating your future like someone else's problem. Because your future is not some stranger waiting far away. Your future is you. Older, tired, living with the results of what you had the courage to do or what you were too weak to face. One day, you will meet that version of yourself. You will meet the person created by your habits, the body shaped by your choices, the mind trained by what you consumed, the life built by what you tolerated. And when that day comes, no excuse will save you. You either cared for yourself or you abandoned yourself. Maybe that sounds harsh, but sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is tell the truth without decorating it. Maybe you do not need another soft reminder to rest. Maybe you need a harder question. Are you actually taking care of yourself? Or are you just making your weakness comfortable? Because there is a difference, and that difference will decide the quality of your life. This video is not about becoming perfect. It is not about punishing yourself. It is not about hating comfort, rest, or peace. Rest is necessary. Peace is necessary. Recovery is necessary. But escape is not recovery. Avoidance is not healing. And comfort is not self-care when it costs you your future. So, before you call something self-care, ask yourself one question. Is this making me stronger, clearer, healthier, and more honest? Or is it helping me avoid the life I know I need to build? If this message hits something inside you, stay with it. Do not just listen for motivation. Listen like your future is asking you to finally tell yourself the truth. Because real self-care is not what helps you escape your life. Real self-care is what gives you the strength to finally face it. Chapter 1. The Lie. We call self-care. Somewhere along the way, self-care became another excuse to stay weak. It started as something good. It started as a reminder that you are not a machine, that your body matters, that your mind matters, that your peace matters, that you cannot spend your whole life breaking yourself for people, jobs, relationships, expectations, and responsibilities without eventually paying the price. And that part is true. You do need rest. You do need recovery. You do need silence. You do need boundaries. You do need moments where you stop carrying the weight of everything and remember that you are human. But the problem is not real self-care. The problem is what people have turned self-care into. Because now, anything that feels good gets called self-care. Avoiding responsibility, self-care. Ignoring messages because you do not want to deal with the truth, self-care. Spending money you do not have because you deserve it, self-care. Scrolling for 3 hours because life feels stressful, self-care. Eating junk because you had a hard day, self-care. Sleeping late, waking up tired, breaking promises to yourself, cancelling on your own goals, and slowly letting your life fall apart. Somehow, people still call it self-care. But that is not self-care. That is self-abandonment with better marketing. And the reason it works is because it sounds kind. It sounds gentle. It sounds compassionate. It sounds like you are finally choosing yourself. But not everything that feels kind is good for you. A lie can sound gentle. An excuse can sound reasonable. A weakness can dress itself like healing. That is the dangerous part. The most destructive habits in your life do not always arrive looking like enemies. Sometimes they arrive looking like comfort. Sometimes they arrive looking like peace. Sometimes they arrive looking like, I need this right now, and maybe you do need rest. But ask yourself honestly, do you need rest or do you need discipline? Do you need peace or do you need courage? Do you need a break, or do you need to stop running from the work you already know you must do? Because there is a difference between recovering and escaping. Recovery gives you strength to return to your life. Escape makes you weaker every time you use it. Recovery clears your mind. Escape numbs your mind. Recovery brings you back to yourself. Escape helps you disappear from yourself. And most people are not recovering. They are disappearing. They disappear into their phones. They disappear into food. They disappear into entertainment. They disappear into drama. They disappear into sleeping too much. They disappear into relationships that keep them distracted. They disappear into anything that keeps them from hearing the quiet voice inside them saying, "You know, this is not the life you want." That quiet voice is terrifying. That is why people keep the noise on. Because silence tells the truth. Silence shows you what you have been avoiding. Silence shows you the habits you keep defending. Silence shows you the dreams you have been postponing. Silence shows you the person you are becoming when no one is watching. And when you are not proud of that person, comfort becomes very tempting. Because comfort gives you a temporary place to hide. But temporary hiding has a permanent cost. Every time you choose escape instead of honesty, your life becomes a little harder to face. Every time you numb yourself instead of correcting yourself, the problem grows deeper roots. Every time you call avoidance self-care, you train yourself to distrust discomfort. And that is where weakness begins. Not because you rested. Rest is not weakness. Weakness begins when you start treating every discomfort like danger. The discomfort of waking up early, saying no, training your body, having a hard conversation, admitting you were wrong, looking at your bank account, starting again, being alone, being honest with yourself. If you run from every discomfort, you will never build strength. You will build a life controlled by your feelings. And that is dangerous. Because feelings change. Feelings lie. Feelings get tired. Feelings look for the easiest exit. Feelings do not care about your future unless you train them to. If your life is ruled by how you feel in the moment, then your future will always be sacrificed for your mood. That is exactly what false self-care teaches. It teaches you to ask, "What do I feel like doing?" But real self-care asks a better question. What do I need to do to respect myself? That question changes everything. Because sometimes what you feel like doing is not what you need. You may feel like staying in bed, but you need to get up. You may feel like avoiding the conversation, but you need to speak. You may feel like eating from stress, but you need to breathe, walk, and deal with the source of the pain. You may feel like scrolling, but you need silence. You may feel like quitting, but you need to continue. You may feel like hiding, but you need to become visible to yourself again. Real self-care is not the worship of your feelings. Real self-care is the leadership of your life. Leadership means sometimes you do not obey every emotion that knocks on the door. You listen. You understand. You do not hate yourself for feeling tired, afraid, lonely, or overwhelmed. But you also do not hand your future to those feelings and say, "Drive." Because feelings make terrible leaders when they are not trained. They will take you toward comfort, not character. Toward relief, not growth. Toward distraction, not truth. And when the consequences arrive, they disappear and leave you alone with the results. That is why discipline is not cruelty. Discipline is protection. Discipline says, "I know you are tired, But we are not going to destroy our life because of one tired moment. Discipline says, I know comfort is calling, but peace built on avoidance is not peace. Without discipline, self-care becomes indulgence. Without honesty, self-care becomes denial. Without responsibility, self-care becomes another beautiful word for running away. This is why so many people stay stuck. They are not stuck because they do not know what to do. Most people know. They know they need to sleep better, move their body, stop wasting hours online, stop replying to people who drain them, save money, stop eating their emotions, finish what they started. They know. But knowledge is not transformation. Knowing the truth does not change your life. Obeying it does. And that is where the lie of modern self-care becomes so dangerous. It makes you feel like awareness is enough. You watch videos about healing. You read quotes about peace. You repost messages about boundaries. You listen to podcasts about growth. You tell yourself you are on a journey. But if your habits are still the same, you are not on a journey. You are decorating your cage. Growth is not proven by what inspires you. Growth is proven by what you are willing to change. And change is uncomfortable. That is why most people prefer the language of healing over the discipline of healing. They want to talk about growth without outgrowing anything. Boundaries without disappointing anyone. Self-love without giving up self-sabotage. Peace while still entertaining chaos. But real healing has a price. It asks for your excuses, your addictions, your comfort zone. The version of you that survives by blaming everything except your own choices. At some point, you have to ask, is this helping me heal, or is it helping me stay the same? That question will expose everything. It will expose the habits you call comfort, the people you call loyalty, the distractions you call rest, the excuses you call self-compassion, and it will show you something painful but necessary. A lot of what you call self-care is not caring for yourself at all. It is protecting the version of you that is afraid to change. But that version of you cannot build the life you want. So stop calling it peace when it is avoidance. Stop calling it rest when it is escape. Stop calling it healing when it is just another way to delay responsibility. Because real self-care is not about making your weakness comfortable. It is about making your strength possible. Chapter 2. Real self-care is self-respect. Real self-care begins when you stop treating yourself like someone you can keep betraying. That is the part people do not want to talk about. They want self-care to sound soft. They want it to sound comforting. They want it to sound like permission to pause, escape, relax, and do whatever makes the pain go quiet for a little while. And sometimes, yes, self-care is rest. Sometimes self-care is stepping back, breathing, turning off the noise, giving yourself space because you have carried too much for too long. But real self-care is bigger than comfort. Real self-care is the way you prove to yourself that you are worth protecting. And protection does not always feel pleasant. A parent who protects a child does not always give the child what feels good. A coach who believes in an athlete does not always let them quit when training becomes hard. A doctor who wants someone to heal does not always tell them what they want to hear. So why do you think caring for yourself means always giving yourself the easiest option? Why do you think loving yourself means never challenging yourself? Why do you think peace means avoiding every difficult thing? Sometimes the most caring thing you can do is refuse to let yourself collapse into the same pattern again. Sometimes self-care is not saying, "It is okay, do whatever you want." Sometimes self-care is saying, "No, not again, we are not going back there." Not because you hate yourself, but because you finally respect yourself enough to protect your future from your impulses. That is self-respect. Self-respect is when your actions begin to match the value you claim to have. It is not a quote. It is not a mood. It is not a post. It is not something you say when you are inspired. Self-respect is what you do when nobody is watching and your old habits are calling your name. It is what you do when you are tired, lonely, stressed, tempted, when you could easily get away with betraying yourself one more time. Because that is when your true relationship with yourself is revealed. Anyone can talk about self-love when life is easy, but self-respect is proven in the moment of temptation. When the phone is in your hand, when the junk food is in front of you, when the toxic person texts you again, when the excuse sounds reasonable, when the bed feels warm, when the work feels boring, when the old version of you whispers, "Just this once," that is where your identity is built. Not in the big dramatic moments, in the small private decisions. You are always teaching yourself who you are. Every choice is a lesson. When you say you will do something and you do it, you teach yourself, "I can trust me." When you say you will stop and you actually stop, you teach yourself, "My word has power." When you choose what is good for you, even when it is not easy, you teach yourself, "I am not controlled by comfort." But when you keep breaking promises to yourself, you teach yourself something too. You teach yourself that your words are negotiable, that your future can be sacrificed, that discomfort is stronger than your standards. And that is why confidence disappears. Confidence is not built by pretending you are powerful. Confidence is built by collecting evidence that you can trust yourself. Every early morning kept is evidence. Every hard conversation faced is evidence. Every workout completed is evidence. Every unhealthy pattern refused is evidence. Every boundary held is evidence. Every hour of focused work is evidence. Slowly, your mind begins to believe you again. That is real self-care. Not because it feels good every second, but because it rebuilds the broken trust between you and yourself. Some of you know exactly what that broken trust feels like. You know what it feels like to say, "Tomorrow I will change," and wake up to the same life. You know what it feels like to promise, "This is the last time," and then repeat it again. You know what it feels like to look in the mirror and feel disappointed, not because you are worthless, but because you know you are living below what you are capable of. That feeling is heavy. Most people try to silence it. They scroll, they eat, they sleep, they stay busy, they create noise, they look for someone to blame. They call it stress, they call it burnout, they call it needing a break. But sometimes the pain you feel is not because you need more comfort. Sometimes the pain you feel is your self-respect asking to come back. It is the part of you that still knows you were meant to live differently. It is the part of you that has not fully given up. It is the part of you that is tired of watching your life be led by weakness. Instead of numbing that pain, listen to it. Because that pain is not always your enemy. Sometimes it is a signal that you are out of alignment, that you are abandoning yourself, that your habits are not matching your values, that your comfort is becoming expensive. And when comfort becomes expensive, self-respect must become stronger. Comfort has a price. The price of avoiding the gym is a weaker body. The price of avoiding sleep discipline is a tired mind. The price of avoiding boundaries is resentment. The price of avoiding money discipline is stress. The price of avoiding hard conversations is fake peace. The price of avoiding focus is wasted potential. Nothing is free. Even comfort sends a bill. And usually the bill arrives later. Comfort gives you pleasure now and sends the consequences to your future self. It lets you escape today and makes tomorrow heavier. It gives the present version of you relief and gives the future version of you suffering. If you truly care about yourself, you have to care about that future version too. Not just the tired you today, not just the overwhelmed you today, not just the version of you that wants the easiest thing right now. You have to care about the version of you who will wake up tomorrow with the results of tonight's decision. That is self-care. It is not just caring for the version of you that wants comfort. It is caring for the version of you that needs consequences to be lighter. Self-respect says, I will not make my future pay for my refusal to grow. Self-respect says, I may be tired, but I will not become careless with my life. Self-respect says, I can be kind to myself without lying to myself. Some people think discipline means hatred. They think if you push yourself, you are being cruel. If you hold yourself accountable, you are not being compassionate. If you refuse your excuses, you are rejecting yourself. But accountability is not self-hate. Accountability is self-honesty. And self-honesty is one of the deepest forms of self-care. Because you cannot heal what you keep denying. You cannot improve what you keep defending. You cannot protect your future while constantly excusing the habits that are destroying it. So yes, be gentle with yourself. But do not be so gentle that you become weak. Be patient with yourself. But do not be so patient that you never change. Be forgiving with yourself. But do not use forgiveness as permission to repeat the same damage. There is a difference between compassion and enabling. Compassion says, I understand why this is hard. Enabling says, because this is hard, I do not have to change. Compassion gives you a hand. Enabling gives your weakness a home. Many people do not love themselves. They enable themselves. They protect their excuses from criticism. They defend their patterns. They surround themselves with people who never challenge them. But real self-care will challenge you. It will challenge your excuses, your environment, your circle, your habits, your relationship with comfort. And it will ask you, do you actually respect yourself enough to change? Not someday. Now. Because self-respect does not wait for perfect conditions. Self-respect starts when you are tired but still choose what matters. It starts when you are scared but still tell the truth. It starts when you are not ready but still take the first step. It starts when the old you is still loud, but the new you finally stops obeying. That is the moment your life begins to shift. Not because everything becomes easy, but because you stop making ease your God. The discomfort of discipline is not the same as the pain of regret. The discomfort of discipline ends with respect. The pain of regret ends with the question, why did I keep doing this to myself? Discipline asks for payment now. Regret collects interest later. Real self-care respects reality. It looks at your life honestly and says, what needs to change? Maybe you need to sleep earlier, eat better, move your body, cut someone off, stop complaining, start the project, sit in silence. That is real self-care. It looks like becoming someone you can respect. And maybe that is what you have been missing. Not more comfort, not more advice, not more inspiration, but respect. Respect from yourself. Because when you respect yourself, everything changes. You stop begging for attention from people who treat you like an option. You stop poisoning your body and calling it enjoyment. You stop letting your phone own your mind. You stop saying yes when your soul is screaming no. You stop making promises you do not intend to keep. You stop living like your life is something you can always fix later. Self-respect makes you serious, not bitter, not cold, not arrogant. Serious about your time, your body, your peace, your future, the person you are becoming. And the moment you become serious, the old version of you begins to lose power. The old version says, just one more time. Self-respect says, no. It says, you deserve comfort. Self-respect says, I deserve freedom more. It says, nobody will know. Self-respect says, I will know, and that is enough. Chapter 3. Comfort is quietly destroying you. Comfort does not destroy most people loudly. It does not kick the door open. It does not announce itself as danger. It does not say, I am here to weaken your mind, waste your time, and steal your future. No, comfort comes quietly. It comes as a soft voice. Relax. You deserve it. Just today. You can start tomorrow. You have been through enough. One more time will not hurt. And because it sounds kind, you trust it. That is what makes comfort dangerous. Pain is obvious. Failure is obvious. Disaster is obvious. But comfort hides. It hides inside normal habits, harmless routines, the little things everybody does, the choices that do not look like choices because you have repeated them for so long. You do not think you are destroying your focus when you pick up your phone first thing in the morning. You just think you are checking something. You do not think you are weakening your body when you skip movement for another day. You just think you are tired. You do not think you are training yourself to avoid life when you numb yourself every night. You just think you are relaxing. You do not think you are losing your future when you keep delaying the work. You just think you still have time. That is how comfort wins. Not by making you fall in one moment, but by teaching you to surrender in small pieces. A little less discipline today, a little less focus tomorrow, a little more excuse next week, a little more numbness every night, a little more tolerance for the version of you that you promised you would outgrow. Slowly, you do not notice that you are changing. You become softer, not kinder, softer. Kindness is strength with compassion. Softness is weakness that cannot handle pressure. Many people are not becoming peaceful. They are becoming unable to handle discomfort. That is why a hard conversation feels like an attack. Discipline feels like punishment. Silence feels unbearable. Boredom feels like suffering. Being alone with their thoughts feels dangerous. Because comfort has trained them to believe that life should always feel easy. But life was never supposed to be easy every day. You were not built to be comfortable all the time. Your body was built to move. Your mind was built to focus. Your character was built through pressure. Your confidence was built through keeping promises when excuses were available. Comfort tells you the opposite. Comfort tells you effort is too much. Discipline is too harsh. Discomfort means something is wrong. If something does not feel good immediately, it is not worth doing. If you believe that, You become weak in a world that does not care about your excuses. Reality does not lower its standards because you are comfortable. Your body does not care that you were stressed when you neglected it. Your bills do not care that you did not feel motivated. Your future does not care that you were tired. Life keeps moving. And if you keep choosing comfort, life keeps collecting payment. The payment may not show up today. That is the trap. Skip discipline today, nothing happens. Waste 3 hours today, nothing happens. Sleep late today, nothing happens. Avoid one responsibility today, nothing happens. Break one promise to yourself today, nothing happens. And because nothing happens immediately, you think you got away with it. But you did not get away with it. You made a deposit into weakness, regret, anxiety, low confidence, a future that will one day ask you, why did you keep ignoring me? The consequences of comfort are delayed. That is why people underestimate them. If every bad habit showed its full cost immediately, everyone would change. But destruction is usually slow. It comes quietly. It comes disguised as normal. And by the time you feel it, the habit has already built a home inside you. That is why you must wake up before the consequences become loud. Because comfort is not always rest. Sometimes comfort is a cage with soft walls. And because the walls are soft, you do not realize you are trapped. You still laugh. You still eat. You still watch. You still scroll. You still say, I'm fine, but inside, something feels dead. Your fire is weaker. Your discipline is weaker. Your ambition is quieter. Your standards are lower. Your excuses are stronger. And the worst part is, you start accepting it as your personality. I am just tired. I am just lazy. I am just not disciplined. I have always been this way. No, you are not just that way. You have been trained that way. Every time you chose comfort over courage, you trained yourself. Every time you chose distraction over focus, you trained yourself. Every time you chose escape over honesty, you trained yourself. Every time you chose your mood over your mission, you trained yourself. And what has been trained can be retrained. But only if you stop protecting the habits that weakened you. Only if you stop pretending comfort is harmless. Only if you stop calling every easy choice self-care. Because some comfort restores you, and some comfort ruins you. You need to know the difference. Rest after effort restores you. Rest instead of effort weakens you. Food that nourishes you restores you. Food that numbs you weakens you. Sleep that repairs you restores you. Oversleeping to avoid life weakens you. Solitude that brings clarity restores you. Isolation that hides you from responsibility weakens you. Entertainment that refreshes you restores you. Entertainment that steals your time and focus weakens you. The difference is not always the action. The difference is the effect. Does it return you to life stronger? Or does it make you less willing to face life? That is the question. Comfort becomes dangerous when it makes you less capable of discipline, focus, honesty, patience, sacrifice, facing the life you keep saying you want. The modern world is designed to make comfort easier than strength. Everything is one click away. Food, entertainment, attention, validation, distraction, opinions, drama, pleasure, noise. You no longer have to sit with a feeling. You can escape it in seconds. You no longer have to be bored. You can fill the silence instantly. You no longer have to think deeply. You can consume someone else's thoughts all day. But none of it makes you strong. It only makes you dependent. Dependent on stimulation, approval, comfort, noise, anything that keeps you from feeling the discomfort of your own unfinished life. And when a person becomes dependent on comfort, they lose freedom. Because freedom is not doing whatever you feel like. That is not freedom. That is slavery with better excuses. True freedom is being able to do what is right, even when your feelings are screaming for the easy way. Freedom is being able to put the phone down, walk away, say no, wake up, focus. Choose your future over your impulse. If you cannot do that, you are not free. You are controlled. Controlled by appetite, fear, boredom, loneliness, comfort. And a person controlled by comfort cannot build a powerful life. They can dream about it, talk about it, watch videos about it, save quotes about it. But they cannot build it, because building requires discomfort. Every meaningful life requires you to choose pain on purpose. Not pointless pain, not self-hatred, not punishment, but the clean pain of discipline, the pain of effort, patience, restraint, honesty, starting before you feel ready, continuing when the excitement is gone. That kind of pain does not destroy you. It sharpens you. Comfort tells you to avoid it. But some pain is not a warning. Some pain is a doorway. The pain of exercising is a doorway to strength. Studying is a doorway to skill. Saving money is a doorway to stability. Saying no is a doorway to peace. Discipline is a doorway to self-respect. If you run from all pain, you run from your own growth. The truth is, comfort has made many people allergic to growth. They want peace without boundaries, confidence without consistency, health without restraint, success without sacrifice, a new life without a new identity. But the person you are today cannot carry the life you want tomorrow unless that person changes. And change will cost you comfort. That is why the old version of you fights so hard. It knows that if you become disciplined, it dies. If you become focused, it dies. If you become honest, it dies. If you become responsible, it dies. So it negotiates. Start Monday. You already messed up today. You are too tired. You deserve a break. This is just who you are. But this is your life. Not a practice round. Not a draft. Every day is shaping you. Every habit is voting for the person you become. So ask yourself, what is your comfort training you to become? Strong or easily controlled? Calm or overstimulated? Disciplined or dependent on motivation? Confident or ashamed in private? Free or addicted to escape? Do not answer with words. Answer with your patterns, because your patterns are more honest than your intentions. Comfort will always offer you an easier moment, but discipline will offer you a better life. At some point, you have to choose which one you love more. Chapter 4. Your body is keeping the score. Your body remembers what you keep pretending does not matter. It remembers the nights you refused to sleep. It remembers the stress you swallowed. It remembers the food you used as comfort. It remembers the tension you ignored. It remembers the movement you avoided. It remembers the exhaustion you normalized. Even when your mouth says, "I'm fine," your body keeps the truth. That is why real self-care cannot be only emotional, spiritual, or motivational. You do not live in your thoughts alone. You live in a body. And if you neglect that body long enough, eventually it will interrupt your life and force you to pay attention. Many people treat their body like it is just a vehicle for their stress. They drag it through long days. Feed it whatever is convenient. Keep it sitting for hours. Overload it with caffeine, sugar, pressure, anger, and worry. Deprive it of sleep. Ignore the signals. Push through everything. Then, when the body becomes tired, heavy, weak, restless, or numb, they act surprised. But your body was speaking long before it started screaming. It whispered first. A little fatigue, a little brain fog, a little tightness, a little irritability, a little lack of focus, a little heaviness in the morning. But you ignored the whisper, so the whisper became louder. That is what happens when you call neglect being busy. That is what happens when you call exhaustion normal. That is what happens when you call bad habits self-care. Your body does not care about the excuses you use. Your body responds to patterns, not intentions, not promises, not motivational speeches. Patterns. You can say you want energy, but your sleep pattern will tell the truth. You can say you want strength, but your movement pattern will tell the truth. You can say you want peace, but your stress pattern will tell the truth. You can say you respect yourself, but the way you treat your body when nobody is watching will tell the truth. Many people say, I just need a break, but they do not need a break from discipline. They need a break from self-abandonment. They do not need another night of escaping. They need one night of real sleep. They do not need more junk to reward themselves. They need food that does not make their body feel punished. They do not need to sit longer and numb their mind. They need to move, breathe, walk, stretch, train, sweat, and release what the body has been carrying. Because the body was not designed to live as a storage room for unprocessed stress. It was not designed to sit in tension all day and then be silenced with entertainment at night. Your body is not weak because it asks for care. Your body becomes weak when you keep refusing to care for it. And care does not always mean comfort. Sometimes caring for your body means giving it what it needs instead of what your cravings demand. It means water when you want another sugary drink. It means sleep when you want one more episode. It means movement when your mood wants the couch. It means breathing before reacting. It means eating to build yourself, not to bury your emotions. It means training your body not because you hate how you look, but because you respect the body that has carried you through everything. False self-care treats the body like something to soothe. Real self-care treats the body like something to honor. And honor is not always soft. Honor sometimes has standards. You cannot say you honor your body while constantly poisoning it with neglect. You cannot say, I love myself, while treating your health like it is optional. This is not about perfection. There will be tired days, hard seasons, times when survival itself feels heavy, days when you do not eat perfectly, sleep perfectly, train perfectly, or feel strong. That is life. But there is a difference between an imperfect season and a destructive identity. There is a difference between needing rest and living in neglect. There is a difference between having a hard day and using every hard day as permission to abandon yourself. Real self-care does not demand perfection. It demands honesty. Some of you are not tired because you are doing too much. You are tired because you are doing too little of what keeps you alive inside. Too little sleep, too little movement, too little silence, too little sunlight, too little discipline, too little honesty with what your body has been trying to tell you. When the body is neglected, the mind becomes harder to control. That is what many people miss. They think discipline is only mental. Confidence is only mental. Peace is only mental. But a tired body creates a tired mind. A restless body creates a restless mind. A neglected body creates a mind that is easier to irritate, distract, discourage, and control. When you do not sleep, everything feels heavier. When you do not move, stress gets trapped. When you eat in a way that destroys your energy, your thoughts follow. When your body is constantly tense, your mind starts treating life like a threat. So if you want a stronger mind, stop abusing the body that carries it. If you want emotional control, stop living in physical chaos. If you want discipline, give your body the conditions that make discipline possible. Modern life has made exhaustion look normal. People brag about being busy, sleeping less, surviving on caffeine, pushing through, ignoring their limits until their body finally breaks down. But burnout is not a badge of honor. Neglect is not strength. Running yourself into the ground is not discipline. Sometimes discipline is not doing more. Sometimes discipline is stopping before you destroy yourself. Going to sleep is discipline. Eating better is discipline. Taking a walk instead of spiraling is discipline. Closing the laptop is discipline. Turning off the phone is discipline. Resting with intention is discipline. Discipline is not only pushing. Discipline is directing. It is knowing when to work and when to recover, when to fight and when to heal, when to continue and when to pause before you become useless to yourself. The strongest people are not the ones who ignore their body. They are the ones who listen before the whisper becomes a scream. They understand that fatigue, tension, and heaviness are not always enemies. Sometimes they are messages. Your body says you are carrying too much. Your body says you have ignored sleep too long. Your body says you are feeding me stress instead of nourishment. Your body says move. Your body says breathe. Your body says stop pretending this is sustainable. If you do not listen, the body will raise its voice. That is why self-care must include physical responsibility, not vanity. Responsibility, not obsession. Respect. Your body is the place where your entire life happens. Every dream you have must be carried by your body. Every goal, every conversation, every act of courage, every long night, every early morning, every responsibility, every person you love. You experience all of it through the body you keep neglecting. So why are you treating it like it does not matter? Why does your phone get charged every night, but you do not? Why do you maintain everything around you, but abandon the one body you cannot replace? Your body is not just something you have. It is something you are responsible for. And responsibility is a form of love. A strong form. A mature form. A form that protects your future. Every physical choice is a message to your future self. When you go to bed on time, you are saying, tomorrow you deserve a clear mind. When you move your body, you are saying, you deserve strength. When you eat with respect, you are saying, you are not a trash can for pain. When you breathe instead of reacting, you are saying, you deserve control. When you rest properly, you are saying, you are not a machine, but you are also not a slave to weakness. And when you ignore all of it, you send another message. You can deal with the damage later, but later always comes. Later comes as fatigue, regret, low confidence, a body that no longer trusts you, a mind that feels heavier than it should. Do not wait for later. Start with what is basic. Sleep like someone who respects tomorrow. Eat like someone who refuses to punish their body for emotional pain. Move like someone who understands that strength is not optional. Breathe like someone who does not have to obey every wave of stress. Rest like someone who is recovering for a purpose, not hiding from life. And when you fail, start again. Not with shame, with responsibility, because shame keeps you stuck. Responsibility moves you forward. You do not need to hate your body into change. You need to respect it into strength, because your body is keeping the score. Make sure the message is not abandonment. Make sure the message is respect. Chapter 5. Protect your mind like your life depends on it. Your mind is not just tired. Your mind is overcrowded, overloaded, overstimulated, pulled in 100 directions before the day even begins. And then you wonder why you cannot focus. You wonder why silence feels uncomfortable. You wonder why simple tasks feel heavy. You wonder why your thoughts feel scattered and your discipline disappears the moment life becomes uncomfortable. But look at what you keep feeding your mind. The first thing many people touch in the morning is not water, not sunlight, not prayer, not silence, not movement, not a moment with themselves. It is the phone. Before their feet touch the floor, the world has already entered their mind. Messages, news, drama, opinions, videos, comparisons, advertisements, arguments, other people's lives, other people's success, other people's problems. Within minutes, their mind is no longer their own. They have not even started their day, but their attention has already been sold. Their peace has already been invaded. Their thoughts have already been directed by whatever the screen decided to show them. And somehow, they call this normal. But normal does not mean healthy. A poisoned environment can become normal if you live in it long enough. A distracted mind can become normal if you never experience focus. An anxious life can become normal if you constantly feed your nervous system noise. That is why real self-care must include guarding your mind, not just calming it after you have destroyed it. Guarding it before the damage begins. Your mind is the command center of your life. Everything passes through it. Your decisions, discipline, emotions, confidence, patience, relationships, work, future. If your mind is polluted, everything else becomes harder. A polluted mind cannot create a peaceful life. A distracted mind cannot build a focused future. A mind filled with comparison cannot feel gratitude. A mind addicted to stimulation cannot sit with purpose. A mind constantly exposed to noise begins to fear silence. And when a person fears silence, they lose access to themselves. Because silence is where truth speaks. Silence is where you hear the questions you keep avoiding. Why am I living like this? What am I running from? What do I need to change? Who am I becoming? What is this habit costing me? But most people do not want those questions. So they keep the noise on. They keep scrolling, watching, listening, reacting, consuming until their own inner voice becomes too quiet to recognize. And then they say, "I feel lost." Of course you feel lost. You abandon the place where your own voice could be heard. You cannot know yourself if you never sit with yourself. You cannot trust your mind if you constantly let strangers, screens, algorithms and noise live inside it rent-free. You cannot call it self-care while letting your attention be stolen every day. Because attention is life. What you give your attention to, you give your life to. Minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. Your life does not disappear all at once. It disappears through attention. One video, one scroll, one argument, one pointless comparison, one night of consuming what gives you nothing back. And the danger is not only the time you lose, it is the person you become while losing it. You become reactive, impatient, restless, unfocused, easily bored, easily influenced. You lose the ability to sit with hard things. You lose the ability to think deeply. You lose the ability to choose your own direction because you are always responding to what the world throws at you. That is not freedom. That is mental slavery. And the worst kind of prison is the one that entertains you while it controls you. That is what many people are living in. A comfortable prison, a glowing prison, a prison they carry in their pocket and check every few minutes. Because everyone else is doing it, they do not see the danger. But if everyone is distracted, that does not make distraction harmless. If everyone is addicted to noise, that does not mean silence is the problem. Sometimes the problem is not that you need more self-care. Sometimes the problem is that you keep poisoning your mind and then asking why it cannot heal. You cannot keep feeding your mind chaos and expect peace. You cannot keep feeding your mind comparison and expect confidence. You cannot keep feeding your mind gossip and expect wisdom. You cannot keep feeding your mind fear and expect courage. You cannot keep feeding your mind distraction and expect discipline. Your mind becomes shaped by what you repeatedly consume. If you spend your days consuming shallow things, your thinking becomes shallow. If you spend your days consuming anger, your spirit becomes tense. If you spend your days consuming other people's lives, your own life starts to feel empty. If you spend your days consuming comfort, discipline starts to feel unnatural. Maybe you are not broken. Maybe your mind is simply full of things that were never meant to live there. Too much noise, too much comparison, too much false urgency, too much entertainment, too much emotional clutter, too many voices that do not deserve access to your attention. Real self-care begins when you become serious about mental boundaries. Not just boundaries with people, boundaries with content, noise, your phone, your own habits. Because not everything deserves to enter your mind. Not every opinion deserves a place in your thoughts. Not every message deserves an immediate response. Not every crisis belongs to you. Not every argument needs your energy. Not every trend deserves your attention. You have to become selective. You have to become protective. You have to treat your mind like sacred ground. Because whatever enters your mind repeatedly will eventually shape your standards. It will shape what you think is normal, what you desire, what you fear, what you tolerate, what you chase, the kind of person you become. Protecting your mind is not weakness. It is discipline. It is not being sensitive. It is being responsible. A strong person does not let anything live inside them. A strong person does not consume poison and then brag about being unaffected. That is not strength. That is foolishness. Strength is knowing that what you expose yourself to changes you. The weak person says, "It does not affect me." The disciplined person says, "Everything repeated affects me, so I will guard the repetition." Your mind is always being trained, either by you or by the world, either by discipline or by distraction, either by truth or by noise, either by purpose or by whatever algorithm knows how to keep you watching. And if you do not choose what trains your mind, something else will choose for you. Your attention is expensive. It is the price of your life. You pay attention to something by paying with your time, energy, emotions, thoughts, and focus. So ask yourself, what are you buying with your attention? Wisdom, strength, peace, skill, discipline, purpose? Or anxiety, comparison, distraction, anger, jealousy, and emptiness? Because you are always buying something. If you want a peaceful mind, stop spending your attention on chaos. If you want a focused life, stop spending your attention on distractions. If you want self-respect, stop spending your attention on things that make you ashamed of your own choices. This is not about deleting everything and living like a monk. This is about ownership. Use the tools. Do not become the tool. Watch the video. Do not let the video swallow your night. Use social media. Do not let social media use your insecurity against you. Answer the message. Do not let every message control your mood. There is a difference between using something and being used by it. And many people are not using their phones. Their phones are using them. Their attention is being harvested. Their emotions are being manipulated. Their boredom is being exploited. Their loneliness is being monetized. And the cost is not just time. The cost is mental freedom. The cost is the ability to sit alone and feel okay. The cost is the ability to focus on one meaningful task. The cost is the ability to listen to your own thoughts without reaching for escape. You say you want peace, but peace requires space. And your mind has no space because you keep filling it with garbage. You say you want clarity, but clarity requires silence. And you keep avoiding silence like it is an enemy. You say you want discipline, but discipline requires attention, and your attention is scattered across 1,000 useless things. So, start simple. Protect the first hour of your day. Do not hand your mind to the world before you have even met yourself. Wake up and give your mind a chance to be yours. Breathe. Move. Pray if you pray. Read something that strengthens you. Write down what matters. Sit in silence for a moment. Ask yourself, what kind of person am I going to be today? Not, what does the world want from me? Not, what did I miss online? Ask who you are becoming. That is self-care. Protect the last hour of your night too. Do not let the final images in your mind be chaos, comparison, arguments, and noise. Your mind sleeps with what you feed it. Feed it something that allows it to recover. A quiet moment. A real conversation. A book. A prayer. A journal. A plan for tomorrow. During the day, learn to pause before you consume. Ask, do I actually need this? Will this make me clearer or more restless? Will this strengthen my mind or scatter it? Am I choosing this or am I escaping into it? That pause is powerful, because the pause is where freedom begins. Without a pause, you are just reacting. A notification appears, you obey. A craving appears, you obey. A thought appears, you obey. But when you pause, you create space. And in that space, you remember, I do not have to follow every impulse. I do not have to open every door. I do not have to let every voice enter. This is how you reclaim yourself. One boundary at a time. One quiet morning at a time. One phone-free walk at a time. One night without scrolling at a time. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. A mind addicted to noise does not enjoy silence immediately. It will ask for stimulation. It will feel restless. It will reach for the phone. But stay there. Do not run. That discomfort is not a sign that silence is bad. It is a sign that your mind is learning how to be still again. And once you begin to hear yourself, everything changes. You notice what drains you, what strengthens you, which people bring peace, which habits leave you proud, which habits leave you ashamed. That is the gift of a protected mind. Clarity. And clarity is dangerous to your excuses. Because once you see clearly, it becomes harder to keep lying. Your mind needs you to become a gatekeeper. Not every thought deserves belief. Not every emotion deserves obedience. Not every distraction deserves access. Not every person deserves influence. Protect your mind like your life depends on it. Because it does. If this message is giving you value, take a second to like the video and subscribe. Not because this channel needs another number, but because you are choosing to keep hearing the kind of truth that pulls you back to yourself. Chapter 6. Saying no is self-care. Sometimes the most powerful form of self-care is a word you keep avoiding. No, not because you are cruel, not because you are selfish, not because you do not care, but because every time you say yes to something that destroys your peace, you are saying no to yourself. Many people have abandoned themselves through politeness. They said yes when their body was tired, yes when their mind was overwhelmed, yes when their schedule was already full, yes when their heart was not in it, yes when everything inside them was quietly begging them to stop. And then they wondered why they felt drained. But you cannot keep giving pieces of yourself away and call it kindness. That is not kindness. That is self-betrayal with a smile. And people will praise you for it because it benefits them. They will call you nice, helpful, reliable, easygoing, mature. But sometimes what they really mean is, you are easy to access. You are easy to pressure. You are easy to guilt. You are easy to use. And if you are not careful, you will mistake being needed for being loved. You will mistake being useful for being respected. You will mistake being available for being valuable. But your value is not proven by how much of yourself you can sacrifice before you collapse. Your worth is not measured by how many people you please. Your goodness is not proven by having no boundaries. A life without boundaries is not a loving life. It is an exposed life. It is a life where anyone can walk in, take what they want, leave their stress on your floor, and expect you to clean it up quietly. And if you complain, they act surprised. Because you trained them. Some people treat you the way they do because you taught them there were no consequences. You taught them your no could become yes if they pushed hard enough. You taught them your time was always available. You taught them your energy was cheap. You taught them your peace was negotiable. Maybe you did not mean to teach them that. Maybe you were just trying to be kind. Maybe you were trying to avoid conflict. Maybe you were afraid of disappointing people. Maybe you were raised to believe that saying no makes you bad. Maybe you became the strong one, the helper, the fixer, the person everyone runs to, while nobody asked who helps you when you are falling apart. If that is you, hear this clearly. You can love people without letting them drain you. You can care without carrying everything. You can be kind without being constantly available. You can be generous without becoming empty. You can say no and still be a good person. Because no is not always rejection. Sometimes no is protection. Protection of your time, health, peace, focus, future, the person you are trying to become. And if you never protect those things, who will? The world will not protect your energy for you. People will not automatically know your limits. Many will take as much as you allow. Not always because they are evil. Sometimes because people are consumed by their own needs. And if you do not have boundaries, their needs can become the boss of your life. That is how you wake up exhausted inside a life you technically chose, but never consciously protected. You said yes here, yes there, yes again, yes to avoid guilt, yes to avoid conflict, yes to keep the peace, yes to be liked. Then one day, you look around and realize your life is full of everyone's priorities except your own. And then resentment enters. Resentment is often the anger of a person who kept saying yes when they wanted to say no. It is the bitterness that grows when you abandon yourself repeatedly and blame other people for accepting the access you gave them. But resentment is also a signal. It tells you where you have been crossing your own limits. It tells you where you have been pretending. It tells you where your mouth said yes, but your spirit said no. Do not ignore that signal. Listen to it. Not so you can become cold, but so you can become honest. Because fake yes creates fake peace. It may avoid conflict in the moment, but it builds conflict inside you. You smile, but you are angry. You agree, but you feel trapped. You help, but you feel used. You show up, but your heart is not there. You act peaceful, but inside you are quietly disappearing. That is not peace. That is performance. Real self-care requires you to stop performing peace while living in resentment. You have to learn the strength of honest boundaries. Not dramatic boundaries. Not cruel boundaries. Not boundaries that punish people. Clear boundaries. Simple boundaries. Mature boundaries. I can't do that. That does not work for me. I am not available. I need time to think. I cannot take that on. I care about you, but I cannot carry this for you. That is not disrespect. That is adulthood. And yes, some people will not like it. They like the version of you with no limits. They like the version of you who always answered, always agreed, always helped, always bent, always adjusted. So when you finally grow boundaries, do not be surprised if some people call it attitude. Do not be surprised if they say you changed. Because you did change. You stopped abandoning yourself. And people who benefited from your lack of boundaries may experience your self-respect as betrayal. But their discomfort does not mean you are wrong. It means the relationship is adjusting to a healthier truth. Some relationships will survive that truth. Some will become stronger because they were built on respect. But some relationships will reveal themselves. They were not built on love. They were built on access. And when access changes, The relationship changes. That will hurt, but it will also free you. Because losing people who only loved your availability is not a loss. It is clarity. Your peace must become more important than being liked. Your future must become more important than being approved. Your self-respect must become more important than being understood by people committed to misunderstanding your growth. Being respected may cost you being liked. Being honest may cost you being comfortable. Being strong may cost you being available. Becoming yourself may cost you the approval of people who preferred you smaller. That is the price, and it is worth paying. Because the cost of never saying no is much greater. The cost is your time, energy, focus, health, confidence, identity, life. Every yes has a cost, even the small yes. Yes to distraction is no to focus. Yes to toxic people is no to peace. Yes to people-pleasing is no to self-respect. Yes to overcommitting is no to recovery. Yes to being constantly available is no to your own life. So before you say yes, ask yourself, what am I saying no to by saying yes to this? Because every yes is also a no. When you understand this, no becomes sacred. No becomes a gate. No becomes a shield. No becomes the line between the life you are building and the chaos trying to enter it. A person without no is a person without a gate. Everything gets in. Every demand, guilt trip, distraction, emotional burden, unnecessary obligation. Then they wonder why they feel invaded. Because they are. Not always by force, often by permission. Boundaries are how you stop giving permission to what is destroying you. And boundaries are not only for other people. You need boundaries with yourself too. You need to tell yourself no. No to the phone at midnight. No to the excuse. No to the old habit. No to the thought spiral. No to the craving that leaves you ashamed. No to the comfort that weakens you. No to the version of you that wants to trade your future for temporary relief. That may be the hardest no, but real self-care is not only protecting yourself from others, it is protecting yourself from the weaker version of you, the version that wants everything now, the version that avoids pain, the version that seeks approval, the version that would rather feel comfortable than become free. You must learn to say no to that version with compassion, but with firmness. Not, I hate you, but I will not let you lead anymore. That is self-respect. And the more you practice no, the stronger your yes becomes. Because when you say no to what drains you, you can say yes to what builds you. Yes to rest that actually restores. Yes to work that matters. Yes to people who respect your peace. Yes to habits that strengthen your body. Yes to silence. Yes to growth. Yes to a future that is no longer sacrificed to everyone else's comfort. At first, saying no will feel wrong. That does not mean it is wrong. It means you are breaking an old pattern. If you spent years people-pleasing, self-respect will feel selfish at first. If you spent years over-explaining, simplicity will feel rude at first. If you spent years making everyone comfortable, allowing their discomfort will feel dangerous at first. But keep going. Your nervous system has to learn that disagreement is not death. Disapproval is not danger. Someone being upset does not mean you did something wrong. Sometimes it means you finally did something right for yourself. So say no. Say no to the things that drain you. Say no to the people who only respect your exhaustion. Say no to the habits that rob your future. Say no to the guilt that keeps you small. Say no, not because you do not care. Say no because you finally do. Every no that protects your future is a yes to your self-respect. Chapter 7. Discipline is the highest form of self-care. Discipline is not the enemy of self-care. Discipline is what makes self-care real. Without discipline, self-care becomes whatever your feelings want in the moment. And feelings are not always wise. Feelings will tell you to stay in bed when your future needs you to get up. Avoid the conversation when your peace requires honesty. Spend money because you are stressed, even when your future needs stability. Scroll for 1 more hour, even when your mind is begging for silence. Quit when progress becomes boring. If you obey every feeling, you will never become free. You will become controlled by mood, comfort, craving, fear. Whatever emotion is loudest in the moment. That is not self-care. That is emotional slavery. And many people are living inside it while calling it freedom. They say, "I'm just listening to myself." But what part of yourself are you listening to? The disciplined part or the wounded part? The wise part or the impulsive part? The future-focused part or the part that wants to escape everything difficult? Because not every voice inside you deserves leadership. Some voices need compassion, but they do not need control. The tired voice inside you may need rest, but it does not always need permission to abandon your life. The hurt voice inside you may need healing, but it does not always need permission to punish your future. The afraid voice inside you may need reassurance, but it does not need permission to keep you small forever. That is why discipline matters. Discipline is the part of you that can listen to your pain without letting your pain drive. It says, "I hear you. I understand this is hard, but we are still not going back to what destroys us." That is not cruelty. That is leadership. Real self-care requires leadership. Because your life cannot be led by whatever part of you is hurting the most. If the most wounded part of you is in charge, it will choose survival, not growth. Hiding, not healing. Comfort, not transformation. Discipline interrupts that pattern. It stands at the door of your life and says, "Not everything gets in. Not every craving gets obeyed. Not every excuse gets believed. Not every old habit gets another chance. Not every mood gets to decide who we become." Discipline feels uncomfortable at first because discipline threatens the old version of you. It threatens the part of you that survives on excuses, the part that says, "tomorrow," the part that needs motivation before movement, the part that wants the reward without the responsibility. And that old version will fight. It will say, "You are being too hard on yourself. You deserve a break. This does not matter. You already messed up, so why try? You can start next week." But the voice that keeps delaying your growth will always sound reasonable. Excuses do not usually sound stupid when they first arrive. They sound protective, logical, compassionate. That is why people believe them. But an excuse is still an excuse, even when it is well spoken. Every excuse you accept becomes a brick in the wall between who you are and who you could have become. Discipline removes those bricks one choice at a time. Not through drama, not through perfection, not through motivation, through repetition. That is the secret people avoid because it is not glamorous. Real discipline is often boring. It is waking up and doing the thing again. eating with respect again, walking again, training again, reading again, saving again, working again, choosing silence again, saying no again, returning to the standard again, and again, and again, until the standard becomes part of you. That is how a person changes, not by one powerful decision, but by repeated proof. You prove to yourself who you are until your identity has no choice but to follow. Most people want identity first. They want to feel disciplined before they act disciplined. They want to feel confident before they behave confidently. They want to feel ready before they begin. But life does not usually work that way. You do not wait for confidence. You build it. You do not wait for discipline. You practice it. You do not wait for a new identity. You earn it through evidence. Every disciplined action is evidence. Every time you do what you said you would do, you cast a vote for a stronger identity. Every time you choose what is right over what is easy, you teach your mind, this is who we are now. At first, the vote may feel small. One workout, one early morning, one healthy meal, one focused hour, one night without scrolling, one boundary held, one honest conversation, one task completed. It may not look like much, but small votes repeated become a new person. That is what people underestimate. They think transformation is built by massive moments, but your life is mostly built by small repeated choices. The small choice to get up, to stop complaining, to put the phone away, to drink water, to take the walk, to prepare instead of panic, to do the work before the reward. These small choices are not small. They are the building blocks of self-respect. Every one of them sends a message. I matter. My future matters. My word matters. My body matters. My mind matters. My peace matters. I will not abandon myself just because comfort is available. That is self-care. Not the weak kind. The strong kind. The kind that changes the quality of your life. Discipline is self-care because it protects you from the consequences of your lower impulses. It protects your body from neglect. It protects your mind from chaos. It protects your time from waste. It protects your money from emotional decisions. It protects your relationships from resentment. It protects your future from the version of you that only cares about today. This is why discipline is love. A mature love. A serious love. A love that does not always say yes. A love that sometimes says, go to bed, get up, walk away, do not reply, save the money, eat properly, finish the work, tell the truth, stop making excuses, start again. This love may not feel soft in the moment, but it saves you from a life that will feel much harder later. People think discipline makes life harder, but lack of discipline makes life harder. Discipline makes your mornings harder sometimes, but your future lighter. Discipline makes your choices harder sometimes, but your regret smaller. Discipline makes you face discomfort now, but it protects you from collapse later. The undisciplined life feels easy in the moment and heavy in the future. The disciplined life feels difficult in the moment and freer in the future. Choose your difficulty. You will either pay with discipline or pay with regret. You will either pay with effort or pay with consequences. You will either pay with discomfort now or pain later. And regret is more expensive. Regret charges interest. Regret asks why you kept waiting. Regret asks why you kept choosing the same habits. Regret asks why you knew better and still lived beneath yourself. Regret asks why you kept calling avoidance self-care. When regret speaks, it is not gentle. It simply shows you what your life became while you were choosing comfort. That is why discipline is mercy. Discipline protects you from the future pain of wasted potential. And wasted potential is a quiet kind of suffering. You can smile with wasted potential. Go to work with wasted potential. Pay bills with wasted potential. Look normal with wasted potential. But inside, there is a heaviness, a private knowing, a voice that says, you could have been more honest with your life. That voice is painful because it comes from truth. And the only way to silence it is not with distraction. It is with action. Do the thing. Not because you feel like it, because your future needs evidence. Do the thing when it is boring, when nobody praises you, when it feels small, when the old you tries to negotiate. Do it because every time you follow through, you repair your relationship with yourself. That is what discipline does. It rebuilds trust. And once you trust yourself, your entire life changes. You stop needing perfect motivation because you have standards. You stop needing everyone's approval because you have self-respect. You stop being controlled by every emotion because you have inner authority. You stop being afraid of discomfort because you have survived it before and grown through it. That is power. Quiet power. The power of a person who knows they will not easily betray themselves. Discipline is not about never failing. It is about returning faster. You will fail sometimes. You will have weak days. You will choose comfort sometimes. You will lose focus sometimes. That does not make you hopeless. It makes you human. But when you fail, discipline does not say, destroy yourself with shame. Discipline says, return to the standard. Return to the path. Return to honesty. Return to responsibility. Return before one bad day becomes a bad month. Return before one mistake becomes an identity. That is real self-care. Not perfection. Return. You need both strength and compassion. Strength without compassion becomes punishment. Compassion without strength becomes enabling. Real self-care says, I will not abuse myself and I will not abandon myself. It refuses the cruelty of self-hate. And it refuses the weakness of self-neglect. It creates a life where you are cared for through standards, where you are loved through responsibility, where you are protected through boundaries, where you are strengthened through repetition. That is the highest form of self-care. Not because it is easy, but because it is honest. It does not only care about how you feel tonight, it cares about who you are becoming tomorrow. So ask yourself before every choice, if my future self were watching, would this look like care or abandonment? Would your future self call this rest or avoidance? Would your future self call this reward or self-sabotage? Would your future self thank you for this choice or suffer because of it? That question cuts through excuses. Because your future self does not care what sounded comforting. Your future self lives with what was repeated. So repeat discipline. Repeat honesty. Repeat small promises kept. Repeat the choices that build trust. Repeat the standards that protect your life. Because discipline is never wasted. Every disciplined choice goes somewhere. It becomes strength. It becomes clarity. It becomes self-trust. It becomes freedom. It becomes the person you respect when you look in the mirror. Chapter 8. Become someone your future self can trust. One day you will meet the future version of yourself. Not in a dream, not in your imagination, not as some distant idea you can keep ignoring. You will meet them in real life. You will wake up inside the body your habits built. You will live inside the mind your choices trained. You will carry the consequences of what you tolerated. You will feel the weight of what you avoided. You will look around at the life created by your repeated decisions, and you will not be able to pretend anymore. Because time tells the truth. Time reveals what discipline was building, and time reveals what comfort was destroying. Self-care cannot only be about the version of you that is tired today. It must also care for the version of you that has to live tomorrow. The version of you 1 year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. The version of you who will inherit every private choice you are making right now. That person is not a stranger. That person is you. Every day you are either protecting them or betraying them. Every time you choose sleep instead of another useless night of scrolling, you protect them. Every time you move your body when the couch is calling, you protect them. Every time you save the money instead of buying relief, you protect them. Every time you say no to people who drain your soul, you protect them. Every time you tell the truth instead of hiding behind excuses, you protect them. Every time you do the work before you feel ready, you protect them. But every time you choose temporary comfort over long-term respect, you betray them. And the betrayal may not hurt immediately. That is the cruel part. Today's comfort often feels harmless, but tomorrow's consequences are patient. They wait. They collect. They grow. They become the life your future self has to carry. One day, the future version of you will ask a question your present excuses cannot answer. Why did you keep doing this to me? Why did you keep giving me a tired body? Why did you keep giving me a distracted mind? Why did you keep giving me broken promises? Why did you keep giving me weak boundaries? Why did you keep giving me unfinished dreams? Why did you keep choosing the easy thing when you knew I would pay for it? That question will hurt. Because deep down, you already know when you are abandoning your future. You know. You know when the thing you call rest is actually avoidance. You know when the thing you call peace is actually fear. You know when the thing you call self-care is actually self-sabotage. You know when you are healing, and you know when you are hiding. Nobody has to explain it to you. Your own spirit knows. That is why excuses never fully comfort you. They may quiet the guilt for a moment. They may help you justify the habit. They may help you get through another day without changing. But they do not give you peace, because peace requires alignment. And alignment means your actions are no longer fighting your values. When your mouth says you want growth, but your habits choose comfort, you create inner conflict. When your mind says you want change, but your body keeps repeating the old routine, you create inner conflict. When your future is begging for discipline, but your present keeps choosing escape, you create inner conflict. And that conflict becomes exhaustion. Not physical exhaustion only. Soul exhaustion. The tiredness of knowing you are not living honestly with yourself. That kind of tiredness cannot be fixed by sleeping longer. It cannot be fixed by another distraction. It cannot be fixed by calling everything self-care. It is fixed by becoming trustworthy to yourself again. Because trust is the foundation. If you do not trust yourself, confidence becomes impossible. If you do not trust yourself, peace becomes unstable. If you do not trust yourself, Every goal feels fragile because part of you already expects you to quit. Many people think they lack motivation. They think they lack talent. They think they lack luck. But often, what they really lack is self-trust. They have broken their word to themselves so many times that their own mind no longer believes them. I'll start Monday. Your mind does not believe you. This is the last time. Your mind does not believe you. I'm serious now. Your mind does not believe you. Not because you are hopeless, but because trust requires evidence. And you cannot rebuild trust with speeches. You rebuild it with proof. Small proof. Daily proof. Quiet proof. Proof that says, I said I would do this and I did. Proof that says, I wanted to quit, but I stayed. Proof that says, I wanted to run, but I faced it. Proof that says, I wanted comfort, but I chose respect. That is how you become someone your future self can trust. Not by becoming perfect, by becoming consistent. Consistency is not glamorous. It does not always feel powerful. It does not always create immediate results. But consistency is how you stop being a stranger to yourself. It is how your future begins to believe you. It is how your mind learns that your word has weight. Serious change does not always make noise. Sometimes it looks like going to sleep on time, doing the work without posting about it, choosing water, taking the walk, cleaning the room, finishing the task, ignoring the message, closing the app, holding the boundary, starting again after failure. It looks small from the outside, but inside something sacred is happening. You are rebuilding the bridge between who you are and who you said you would become. You do not need to do everything today, but you need to do something today that proves you are not lying again. Something simple, something real, something measurable. Because vague desire does not create trust. Specific action does. Not, I will take better care of myself. What does that mean today? Will you sleep earlier? Will you walk for 20 minutes? Will you eat one meal that respects your body? Will you clean the space you keep avoiding? Will you finish the assignment? Will you put the phone away for 1 hour? Will you say no? Will you sit in silence instead of numbing yourself? That is where trust is rebuilt. In the specific, in the real, in the action. The old version of you is used to being forgiven without being challenged. It is used to making promises and breaking them. It is used to escaping consequences through excuses. It is used to saying, I deserve comfort, even when comfort is the thing destroying your future. But the new version of you must become stronger than that. Not harsher, stronger. Harshness says, I am worthless if I fail. Strength says, I may fail, but I will return. Harshness says, I must be perfect. Strength says, I must be honest. Harshness says, I hate the old me. Strength says, I understand the old me, but I will not let that version lead anymore. That is how you grow without destroying yourself. You do not need to hate who you were. You need to stop obeying who you were. You can have compassion for the version of you that survived through comfort, distraction, avoidance, and people-pleasing. Maybe that version was doing the best it knew. Maybe that version was tired. Maybe that version was protecting you from pain in the only way it understood. But survival patterns are not always life patterns. What helped you survive one season may destroy you in the next. At some point, the habits that protected you from feeling pain begin to protect you from feeling alive. When that happens, self-care must become more than soothing. It must become transformation. You must look at the old patterns and say, "Thank you for helping me survive, but you cannot lead me anymore." The avoidance cannot lead. The fear cannot lead. The people-pleasing cannot lead. The scrolling cannot lead. The late nights cannot lead. The excuses cannot lead. The comfort cannot lead. Your future needs a stronger leader. And that leader is built through the choices you make when nobody is watching. Your future is not built in public. It is built in private, in the quiet decisions, in the private battles, in the moments where you could easily betray yourself and nobody would know, but you would know. And that is enough, because your relationship with yourself is always watching. Every private choice either strengthens or weakens that relationship. So become someone who can stand in private without shame. Become someone who does not need to escape their own company. Become someone who keeps promises so quietly that confidence has no choice but to grow. Become someone whose future self can say, "You protected me. You fought for me. You cared before it was too late. You did not always feel strong, but you kept returning. You stopped calling abandonment self-care. You chose respect when comfort was easier." That is the goal. Not to impress people, not to look perfect. The goal is to become trustworthy to yourself. Because when you trust yourself, you move differently. You no longer beg life to become easy before you act. You no longer need your mood to agree with your standards. You no longer panic when discomfort appears. You know you can handle it because you have handled it before. You know you can continue because you have continued before. You know you can rebuild because you have rebuilt before. That is power. Deep power. The power of self-trust. When comfort calls, you can hear it without obeying it. When your future needs you, you show up. That is real self-care. Showing up for yourself before your life becomes an emergency, before your body breaks, before your mind burns out, before your relationships become resentment, before your dreams become grief. Do not wait for the crisis. Wake up now, while there is still time, while the habit can still be changed, while the mind can still be trained, while the body can still be strengthened, while the future can still be protected. Before you choose the easy thing, pause. Picture the future version of you. Picture their body, their mind, their peace, their life. Then ask, will this choice make them trust me? If the answer is no, choose differently. Not because you hate yourself, because your future is listening. Every choice is a message. Send a better message. I will not abandon you. I will not make you pay for my lack of discipline. I will not keep trading your peace for my temporary comfort. I will become someone you can trust. That is real self-care. Real self-care is becoming the kind of person your future self does not have to recover from. If you have stayed this far, do not let this be just another video you finish and forget. Comment one word, respect, not for me, for yourself. As a reminder that from this moment forward, self-care means something stronger. Final payoff. Real self-care gives you your life back. So now you have a choice. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when life calms down, not when the perfect mood arrives. Now. You can keep calling comfort self-care. You can keep defending the habits that drain you. You can keep saying you are healing while avoiding everything that would actually make you stronger. You can keep scrolling, keep delaying, keep numbing, keep saying yes when your soul is screaming no, keep treating your body like it will forgive you forever. Keep letting your mind be invaded by noise. Keep making promises to yourself and breaking them quietly. You can keep doing all of that. And maybe nothing dramatic will happen today. Maybe no one will notice. Maybe life will look normal from the outside. But inside, you will know. You will know you are still hiding. You will know you are still feeding the old version of yourself. You will know you are still choosing temporary relief over long-term respect. And over time, that knowing becomes heavy. Because the soul gets tired of pretending. The mind gets tired of excuses. The body gets tired of neglect. The future gets tired of being betrayed. Eventually, comfort stops feeling comfortable. It starts feeling empty. That is when you realize the truth. The easy life was not giving you peace. It was slowly taking your power. Because peace is not found in avoiding your life. Peace is found in facing your life with strength. Real self-care is not running from responsibility. It is becoming responsible enough to protect yourself from the life you do not want. It is looking at your habits and saying, "This is costing me too much." It is looking at your phone and saying, "You do not own my mind." It is looking at your body and saying, "I am sorry, I ignored you." It is looking at your future and saying, "I will stop making you pay for my weakness." It is looking at your old self and saying, "I understand why you existed, but you cannot lead anymore." That is the moment everything begins to change. Not when you feel ready, not when you feel inspired, not when someone comes to save you. When you finally decide that self-respect matters more than comfort. Because that is what this is really about. Self-respect. Respect for your time. Respect for your body. Respect for your peace. Respect for your mind. Respect for your future. Respect for the person you are still capable of becoming. And respect is not proven by words. It is proven by choices. So choose. Choose sleep when your mind needs recovery. Choose movement when your body needs strength. Choose silence when your soul needs truth. Choose boundaries when your peace needs protection. Choose discipline when your future needs evidence. Choose honesty when your excuses sound comforting. Choose the hard thing when the easy thing has already taken too much from you. And when you fail, return. Do not drown in shame. Do not use failure as permission to quit. Do not let one weak moment become your identity. Return. Return to the standard. Return to the promise. Return to the life you said you wanted. Return as many times as it takes until returning becomes who you are. Because the goal is not perfection. The goal is trust. To become someone you can trust. Someone your body can trust. Someone your mind can trust. Someone your future can trust. Someone who does not need to escape themselves every night because they finally live in a way that feels honest. That is freedom. Not doing whatever you feel like. Freedom is no longer being controlled by every feeling. Freedom is being able to say no to what weakens you. Freedom is being able to choose what strengthens you. Freedom is being able to sit in silence without running. Freedom is being able to look at your life without lying. Freedom is becoming strong enough to care for yourself in a way that actually changes you. So stop calling comfort self-care when it is really avoidance. Stop calling distraction rest when it is stealing your life. Stop calling people-pleasing kindness when it is destroying your peace. Stop calling emotional escape healing when it is keeping you wounded. Stop calling self-abandonment love. You deserve better than that. Not because life is easy, not because you are perfect, not because you have it all figured out, but because there is still something in you worth protecting, something stronger than your excuses, something deeper than your comfort, something that still wants to rise. That part of you needs your loyalty. It does not need another lie. It does not need another delay. It does not need another night of pretending. It needs one honest decision, one kept promise, one boundary, one quiet act of discipline, one moment where you choose the future instead of the impulse. Start there. Start small, but start seriously. Because small, serious choices repeated over time become a life you can respect. One day, if you keep going, you will look back and realize that real self-care was never about escaping pain. It was about ending the deeper pain of abandoning yourself. It was about becoming disciplined enough to protect your peace, strong enough to protect your body, wise enough to protect your mind, brave enough to protect your future, honest enough to stop calling weakness by beautiful names. That is where your life changes, not in comfort, in truth, not in avoidance, in action, not in self-pity, in self-respect. So take care of yourself, but take care of yourself for real, not in the way that makes your weakness comfortable, in the way that makes your strength possible. If this video helped you see self-care differently, like it, subscribe, and share it with someone who keeps calling exhaustion peace. But most importantly, do not leave this message here. Take one action today that proves you heard it. Because real self-care is not what helps you escape your life. Real self-care is what gives you your life back.